In this tutorial, we're going to draw all of the vectors for the lily leaf moulding that you can see here. We're going to look at different ways that you can create and edit vectors, and then we'll ultimately come to look at using these vectors as part of a modelling process where we'll be creating a moulding in a modelling tutorial. So let's go over, we'll go to File, Close. So then we'll go ahead and create a new file. So here we're working with a single-sided job. The width of this we're going to put in at 12 inches. The height is going to be 4 inches. Our material thickness is 3/4 of an inch. The 0 position will be on the material surface, and our XY datum position we're going to leave in the center there. We could go ahead and press OK. So to help me draw up the geometry, I'm actually going to look at switching on the snap grid. The snap grid can be found in the view toolbar at the top here, so it's this one, it's currently switched off. If I click on that, you can see we're now presented with a grid here, and this just enables me to snap to each one of these dots. Now, to alter the spacing with these dots, we need to come over to Edit, Snap Options, and we can see here we have Snap to Grid switched on with a grid spacing of 1/4 of an inch. So between each one of these dots is exactly 1/4 inch spacing. So this really makes it easy for me to draw in geometry precisely. Okay, so I'm going to go with these settings, so we'll go ahead and press OK. So we're going to start by drawing a line that we'd ultimately use as part of a modelling operation in a later tutorial. And it's a line that's just going to run from this point here over to this point here. So to do that, let's go over to the Draw Polyline Tool. And you can see that as I drag my cursor across, we're snapping to each point. So like I said, it just makes it really easy to draw in precise items in here. So I'm going to snap to the lower left hand corner and drag that out and snap to the right over there. Right click to come out of the Polyline tool, and there is my line. Okay, now I'm going to create a copy of this line exactly 1/2 inch up the y-axis. So to do that, I'm going to select it. Then I'm going to hold down Control. That will enable me to create a copy when I come to move this line. And then using my left mouse key, I can move it. So you can see this is the line that I'm going to be creating. And as I said, I want to move it 1/2 inch above. Okay, so we know each one of these dots represents 1/4. So here it is at 1/4. So I'm going to snap to the 1/2 inch. And there we have it. So there's our newly created line. There is our existing line. I want to create another line that's going to go on the top of our job. So with that selected, again, hold down Control, left mouse click. I'm going to drag that to the top corner there. And then I want to create one more copy that is 3/4 of an inch down the y-axis. So I'm going to take that, hold down Control, drag that down 1/4, 1/2, 3/4 there. You can see that I can snap to position that in, and there I have 4 different lines, and they've all been accurately positioned with thanks to the snap grid. So now we're going to look at drawing a cross section for the moulding. Now the cross section needs to be an open vector in order for this to work with our modelling tools that you'll see in a later tutorial. You can find that tutorial in the related videos section. So we're going to start by creating this profile, and this profile is going to run between this vector here and this vector here. So let's jump into the Polyline tool to create this shape. So we're going to start in the top left hand corner here. You can see I'm snapping to that corner, and I'm going to drag that out by 1/4 of an inch. You can see that my cursor is snapping to the 1/4 there on the snap grid. Click to accept that. I'm going to bring that all the way down, snap to the bottom there, click to accept that, and then back to the lower left hand corner, click to accept that. right mouse click to come out there, and you can see I've just got this basic shape. So now I'm going to look at putting this into node edit mode to really transform the shape, just to give it a nice moulding look. So with that, we'll go over to the node editing mode. So here I'm just going to right click. We're going to use this option here to insert a point. You'll notice the shortcut keyboard key here to do the same application is I. So I could press I, or I could just simply insert the point there. Go to the bottom, and again I'm going to press I over this line, and that will insert the node there. I'm going to take this node, we're going to snap that to that point there, take this node and snap that to that point there. I'm just going to box select these two nodes, and then I'm going to drag them over, and we'll snap that to the next position over to the right, so we know that is now at a distance of ½ inch. Okay, so then we can really look at editing the spans to create curvature, just to give it a decorative look. So here I'm going to right click on the span and use the option to Bezier. I could also press B as the keyboard shortcut to do that. I'm going to take this control handle, snap to that point there, take this control handle and snap to that point there. Okay, so I'm happy with the top part. So here I'd like to turn this span into a Bezier, so let's press B on the keyboard. You can see now I have access to these control handles to really transform the shape of this span here. So I'm just going to take that node and we're just going to pull that out somewhere like that. And then we're going to come to the bottom section here, right click to Bezier, and to take this control handle, snap to that point there, this control handle and snap to that point there. Right click just so we can see the vector there, so we're still in node edit mode if you wanted to make further changes, but I'm happy with the way that that looks, so we'll just go back into normal selection mode. So now that we're done with the profile or the cross section, I'm just going to take that, I'm just going to zoom out using the scroller, and I'm just going to move that off the job because I don't need this anymore until we come to model the part in a later tutorial. So now we're going to look at drawing in the lily leaf motif. So to do this, I'm actually going to switch off the snap grid. I don't need that there. And I'm also going to switch off the smart snapping options. As I'm creating an organic shape, there really is no need for me to be able to snap to various points within my job, because this is a very organic piece that we're creating. And so to help me there also, if I go to edit snap options, I'm also going to reduce my snapping radius so it's at its smallest of 4 pixels. And again, the reason for this is that because I am creating an organic shape, I really want to be able to click and create a point where my cursor is. So let's just OK that. And then we'll jump straight into the Polyline tool. So go over to the Polyline tool. We're going to start this at x0, y0, so in the very centre of our job, and we're just going to roughly sketch in a shape like so. So I'm just going to come over here and then right click to come out there. Okay, so this is our rough shape of the stalk. So to really transform this shape, we're going to put it into node edit mode, which is this option here. Okay, now I want to look at smoothing this point, and this point. So to do that, I'm just going to box select those nodes like so, and then press S on the keyboard in order for me to smooth them. And so with all of those nodes smooth, you can see we're presented with all of these handles, and these handles enable me to really transform the shape of the curvature that we're going for. So we're going to start over here. Now I'm going to take this control handle here, and I'm going to move that over to the right hand side. And the reason for this is that when we come to model this stalk, I'm ultimately going to model one portion, we're going to mirror and flip it so that it creates a copy on the other side. So having this control handle over to the right just means that we're going to transition through x0, y0 seamlessly to when we mirror the part on the other side. So you won't be able to tell it was created from two parts. Okay, so just working our way around the rest of the nodes, we're just going to pull at the spans, pull at the handles, and just really edit the shape until we like the curvature that we've got for the stalk. So we're going to start by looking at this control point here to edit the shape of the stalk. Now, tip here is if you select the node, you'll notice that the control handles are also selected. And if you wanted to line them up so they all line up in the x-axis against the original node, just simply press X on the keyboard and you see that it keeps everything in line there. And then here I could just select this handle, I could maybe nudge it up a little bit using the up arrow key. I could also take the span and just move that over, and you can see we're creating a nice curvature there. Again, I could take this point here and then on the keyboard press Y to align the handles in the Y axis. I could then go ahead and take this handle here, pull that out, take this node, move that over, and here what you're really doing is you're just making all of these small tweaks and adjustments to the spans, to the handles, until you are content with the shape that you're creating. So really we want to create a real nice smooth transition here. So then we're going to take this node here, and I'd like to align the handles in the Y axis, so we'll press Y there, and then we'll just again go ahead and just make the various adjustments. Might want to bring this span in a little bit, then we'll put that one back so that we're aligned in Y. I might just nudge that over a bit. And then just take this handle and bring that out, take this handle, just create a little bit more curvature there. Just click out just so you can take a look at how the part looks. Okay, so I'm happy with this top portion here. I might do a little bit more tweaking down here, so I might just drop that down a little and then bring that across ever so slightly. Then again, click just to take a look at what we have there. Click to make any further adjustments. I might just want to bring this over like so, bring that one in, just take that handle there and just nudge that out ever so slightly until we're happy with the curvature of the part. And this whole process of just making minor changes to the position of where your nodes are, where the handles are, how the spans look, really is down to your own judgment really. Okay, so I'm kind of happy with how that looks. I might just take this handle here and just nudge that over to the right just by one click, and then I'm going to go with this. I'm happy with what we've got there. So now what we're going to do is we're going to look at drawing in the leaf shape that's going to sit on the end of the stem over here. So let's go back into the Polyline tool. We're going to snap to the end of our stem here, and then we're just going to draw out a rough shape of how our stem could look, so something like this. Then here I'm just going to snap to that point there, so you can see we're snapping to a point on the stem vector, so that's useful for me there. Take that there, I'm just going to bring that down a little, and we're going to come over here, and then we're just going to snap that back up to the top to close that off. So we can close out there. So now I can look at smoothing the shape of the leaf using the Node Edit tools. So if we go over to Node Edit, we'll just select this leaf here. And I'm also going to look at selecting this stalk here. So holding down the Shift, I can select the stalk and have a look at the nodes for that vector. And the reason for that is that what I'd like to do is I'd like to look at bringing this point down, but I want to bring it down for both the leaf and the stalk. So I'm just going to box select these vectors here, and then I'm just going to just drag them down. I could look at using the down arrow key just to bring it down ever so slightly, just to alter the curvature that's going into the leaf here. Might do it one more time. Okay, so I'm kind of happy with that, and then what I might do is just take just this handle here, just nudge that over to the left. Right then, so let's go ahead and look at editing just the leaf. So I'm just selecting the leaf here, and what I want to do is I want to look at smoothing these points. So with those selected, I'm going to press S on the keyboard to smooth those, and then we're going to select box select these two nodes here and press S to smooth those. So again, like we did with the stalk, we're going to look at altering the shape by pulling on the handles, moving the control points, pulling on the spans until we're happy with the shape that we've got. So I'm just going to take this node here, I'm going to right click, and I want to unsmooth that point. And then we're just going to zoom in on this area here. And I'm going to pull this handle down like so, and we're also going to pull this handle down just to give that rounded bottom that goes into a point. Let's take this handle and bring that in a little. We're going to look at taking that span and just moving that over. Take this handle here, move that down. You can see with every small iteration that you do, you really make a difference to the smoothness of the curve that we've got. Okay, so what I could do is again bring that down. Might just take that handle, just nudge that down a little over to the left. Okay, might want to just undo that, so you can press Ctrl Z on the keyboard to do that. I think I had a better curvature there. Okay, so let's just move over to this side. So here I'm going to take this span, I'm just going to bring that in a little, so we're creating a nice curve here that goes nicely into this point at the top there. Then we'll take this point here and we'll just move that up. Take this point here, just move that over to the right. I want to look at taking this handle, just lifting that up a little and taking that node, maybe just bring it over to the right like so. Click in the white space just to review what we have here. Okay, so it's not too bad. Might want to just take that point and just nudge it down a little. And then again, click in the white space to review the shape. Okay, so I'm happy with this side here. This side I might just want to look at nudging this up a little, and then click in the white space to review what we have there. Again, I'm just going to click there, take that handle, lift it up ever so slightly, click in the white space to review. So one thing I might change is this stalk here. So if I just zoom in, I might just want to pull that down, just zoom in there, pull that out a little, just to alter the shape that we have there, and then again click just to review what we have there, and just to make sure that everything looks okay. Okay, so if we use the option here to zoom active view to the drawing limits, I think I'm finally happy with that. So you can see it's a very iterative process of making minor tweaks here and there until you're happy with the overall shape. So when we come to model the leaf, we're going to look at using the Create Shape tool, where I'd like to create a shape based on the left side of this stalk and the right side of this stalk. So this is going to require me to make a few edits to the vectors so that I have two sets of vectors that represent the left and the right, where it's separated by this stalk here. Let's just right click to put that into selection mode. So we're going to take this stalk, we're going to right click and we're going to say copy to layer, new layer. We're just going to call this one edit. So this is just a temporary layer that we're going to create the two sections of our leaf. Then we're going to take the leaf, we're going to right click and we're going to say move to layer, edit. If we go to our layers bar at the top, we'll switch off layer 1 and we'll make the edit layer the active layer. Okay, so here all I need is the leaf vector and the stem that sits inside of the leaf. So I'm going to use the interactive trim tool to remove the excess that I don't need. That's okay, because remember we copied the stem, so we'll still have the original stem to work with on layer 1. And so I needed to create 2 cuts to this vector, one at the top here and one at the bottom there. So to do that, we're going to go into node edit mode and right click on this node here and use the option to cut vector. You can see I can press the letter C on the keyboard to cut it also. So let's do that over here. So hovering over this node here, I'm going to press C on the keyboard and that will cut that there. So now we have 1 vector, 2 vectors, and then we've got the stem in the center. And so this stem is going to connect the 2 shapes. So what I need to do is just right click in to come out of node edit mode and to select this vector, right click, and we're just going to create a copy. And with that vector selected, I'm going to hold down shift and we're going to look at joining these vectors. So we can come over and we can look at joining the vectors there. And we can see in the software that joining this with a tolerance of 0.0004 inches, we're going to have 1 closed vector. So let's just join that. And then when we select it, we can see it's joined that together. So now I've got 1 closed vector here. And now if I right click and paste in the original trimmed center of the leaf there, the stem part, we're going to take that, shift and select the right side of the leaf, and again we're going to join that, close out. You can see now we have 2 separate regions. Now with this vector selected, what I'd like to do is create a copy of this that is a little bit smaller to create the detail for the inside of the leaf. So the easy way to do this is to select it again to put it into transform mode, hold down Control in order for us to create a copy, hold down Shift in order for us to scale this down in proportion. I'm going to take one of the handles and we're just going to look at scaling that down, and you'll see that because we had Control also held down, it's created a copy for us. So here we can look at rotating it, we can also look at moving that over. If we just zoom in over here, we can really just position that wherever we want. Okay, so that's not too bad. We just click in the white space, might want to just nudge that over to the left and down again, and there we have the inner part of our leaf there. Right then, so at this stage we've done everything that we need to do to create the 3 different shapes that we'll be using with the create shape tool to create this leaf. So now we can move everything back over to layer 1, and the quickest way to do this is to go over to our layers bar at the top, go onto this option here, we're just going to delete that layer, then a warning will pop up to say that we have data on the layer, would you like to move it? And if so, it would be moved to layer 1. So yes, we're going to do that, move it over to layer 1, and then we'll just switch on layer 1 and everything is in position there. So the last set of vectors we needed to create are profile vectors that we're going to use to model the stalk with using the extrude and weave tool. So we're going to create 2 cross sections and they're going to be rounded. So the easiest way for me to do this is to draw a circle. So we're going to go to the draw circle tool and I'm just going to pull a diameter out, and then using the transform shortcut keys I'm going to type in 0.375 followed by the letter D for diameter, and you can see that's entered a circle in at 0.375, and here it is. Let's close out there. And if we just zoom in onto that circle, now when we're creating cross sections they must be open vectors, in which case we'll need to edit this. So if we go into node edit mode, I'm going to look at deleting this span here. So right click, delete span, right click here, delete span there, and there is our open cross section. So just right click to come out, right click to go back into normal selection mode. Okay, so this is great for the end part of our stalk here. However, I want to create a copy of this that's going to sit here, which we need to make much smaller, as we know that when we come to model the part, it's going to sweep into a much smaller shape as it reaches the tip of the leaf. So let's take this, put it into selection mode, so click on that again, hold down Control, and then let's just drag that out over to the right. And then with that selected, we're going to go over to set selected object size, and then here we're going to make sure we link X and Y, so it was scaling that in proportion, and we're just going to alter the width of this so that it is 0.03 inches. Press apply, close out, and if we zoom in, you can see we have a much smaller cross section there. I'll just take that and just move it so it's sat next to the original largest section, and we'll use this option here to zoom active view to draw in limits. So there we have all of the vectors that we need to model the lily leaf mould in, and you can take a look at that tutorial in the related videos section. So let's go ahead and save this file. So we'll go to File, Save As,